Welcome, everybody, to the Integrative Women's Health Institute. We are going to be talking today about is health coaching right for you, and how really that this time frame, like walking into the fall, into September, is a perfect time period to be talking about how this may fit you, fit your goals, and what that may look like for you. It's fall, we're heading into fall, all the kids are going back to school. The kids are focused on their education and their journey and what's the next best step for them, whether it's high school, whether it's college. And it's often a perfect time to think about for yourself to kind of realign your vision, your goals, what may potentially be the best path for you to follow. And we want to talk about how coaching may be that right path for you. So I'm Dr. Dawn Allen. I am a master coach for the Integrative Women's Health Institute and also help with operations. And I'll be talking with Dr. Jessica Drummond, who is the CEO and founder of the Integrative Women's Health Institute. So let's start with just what is coaching? Like, what is that? And talk about what that may look like for people.
Yeah. So why would health coaching be the right next step career for you? It depends on how you think about coaching, I think. What is coaching? And I think one of the most interesting things about coaching is at the end of the day, there are a number of perceived definitions about what it is. So on one hand, people are thinking, oh, coaching is just someone who hops on Instagram, proclaims themselves a coach and starts telling people what supplements to buy or things like that. Or if you think about business coaches, again, there's more of the idea that someone will give you kind of a step-by-step process for, stepping out there with a side hustle or creating your own business. And in that sense, people are giving you coaches, or people proclaiming to be coaches are giving you a set of recommendations. And how is that distinct from a clinician whose job really it is to assess your health status and look at biomedical markers and again, give you a set of recommendations. So it's very confusing because what coaching really is in its purest form is eliciting from the person who's coming to seek coaching what they intuitively already know. If you think about it, humans are animals, and we have some awareness about what we need to do to keep ourselves healthy and optimally functioning. And also, quite frankly, there is a vast amount of education out there about what we need to do to keep ourselves healthy, right? Everyone knows that it's healthier to eat salads and vegetables than it is to eat Oreos and Doritos. And yet there's this confusion around what do I do to take care of my health? And that makes a lot of sense too, because at the minute detail level, things get very confusing, which is why I constantly get questions about things like, I'm struggling with hot flashes or perimenopausal weight gain symptoms, or I have chronic pain. What supplement should I take? Right? There's one kind of magic solution because that's how we're marketed to. So when we at the Integrative Women's Health Institute, when we talk about what is coaching, we really think about coaching as a skill set of communication skills that helps center the client and their unique experience, their unique internal wisdom, their unique education, their unique resources, their unique struggles and overcoming those barriers to making healthy behavior changes. And we create space, and we have very specific communication tools to get people to take action in the direction of their health. So it's very different from what you might think of as someone who hops on Instagram and gives recommendations about, take this supplement or eat this diet or meal prep in this way. Not that those educational tips aren't useful and in some cases very helpful on an individual level, but on a holistic level, first, we have to really understand where our clients are coming from and what will actually motivate them to make those changes before we give anyone a huge checklist of recommendations.
Yeah, and I would say in what you were talking about regarding helping the clients really take action steps towards their goals, that part of what I think really is special for coaching and people who are certified as coaches is before we even get to that step, we really work on their vision, right? We really look on really helping them see what they're headed towards, what they really want in life, what they desire in life, instead of what they're running away from, which we see sometimes with clinicians or coaches calling themselves coaches who are giving you the recommendations. They're helping you run away from, what you don't want, instead of, I think that's part of the beauty with coaching and having the skills is helping you sit in that first, really start to sit in that vision, to believe what is possible for you, and then in taking that and then moving you towards that.
Yeah. And I think, so many really skillful health coaches, and these health coaches can also be, many of our graduates are health coaches and clinicians. They're health coaches and physical therapists, health coaches and nurses, health coaches and gynecologists, health coaches and occupational therapists, and wellness providers, health coaches and yoga teachers and midwives, acupuncturists, across the board. And I think what's so unique about that is, so what will often happen is the client will come to us in a particular pain. And that's all they can think about because it's chronic. It's been ruling their lives for years, if not decades, by the time they sort of step out of the traditional medical model and find a coach. Then it's like, oh, so they're just trying to get out of that pain, and it's their whole focus. So one of the really interesting things about being a coach is helping people, even in intense long-term chronic illnesses, to concurrently heal and live. And that's so beautiful to see, because when that happens, when that emotional and mindset shift happens for clients and they start to see that it's possible for them to live and heal over time concurrently, they don't have to wait for their disease process to be completely resolved before they can then have a vision of whatever it is they want to do, travel, give more attention to their families, get a promotion at work, whatever the things are they want to do and address and be more of. What's so wonderful about coaching is you can bring that all in right from the very beginning. And that actually keeps people motivated and excited about their healing journey, rather than it always being about, and this is what I learned in sort of traditional healthcare graduate school, was like, every time you're like, what's your pain level? You're very, very focused on the symptoms. How are they? Where are they? There's all this focus on running away from the symptoms versus letting the symptoms drift away as the person is also living and healing. And it's part of actually the healing when they start to think of that in that way.
Yeah, that's I agree. That's part of the beauty of coaching. But you said something in there that I want to talk about. I want to touch on a little bit more. Is let's talk about the clinician who is also the health coach. So, like for me, I come from a traditional medical model. I'm trained clinically as a nurse practitioner. You as well, trained clinically as a physical therapist and in clinical nutrition. So let's talk about that. Like, how can that person, that clinician who is maybe trained in that traditional medical model, but wants to dive a little bit deeper or wants to have a more collaborative, connection with their client, how can they take these skills, the skills that you learn in coaching, and incorporate that with what they know, whether it's in their current practice, whether it's opening up a different practice? What does that potentially look like for a clinician who may be interested in exploring whether coaching is the right thing for them?
I think intuitively, many clinicians actually would prefer to be coaches. They kind of went to graduate school thinking they were going to be coaches, right? Thinking they were going to learn how to sit with someone in the experience of their illness or injury and help them to really focus on how to heal. But unfortunately, the way our medical model, our conventional medical model, and even to some extent our integrative medical models, because sometimes that really shifts into just sort of like green pharmacy, like what's the supplement instead of what's the medication. Those traditional models of how the relationship is between a provider and a person seeking support for their healing is so both kind of patriarchal. There's this sort of patriarchal power differential, and the person who's giving the recommendations has this ownership of like, they have to fix you like you're some kind of broken car, literally. And it's like, what series of, whether it's supplements or medications or surgeries, and how quickly interventions, PT, acupuncture, whatever, what those interventions do to sort of just like fix the physiology. And it's a very frustrating model, not just for patients, but also for professionals, for health professionals, because there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of pressure of taking ownership of things that they actually don't have any control over, right? Like you cannot go home and sit with each and every one of your clients and see what they're having for dinner. You just can't. Seeing if they're getting up in the morning and going outside to take their walk, like you just don't have any control over that as a clinician giving a recommendation. And then there's the challenge of not enough time and intense productivity pressure and not being able, really allowed to think holistically. And I see this across the board: nurses, physicians, physical therapists, occupational therapists, massage therapists, acupuncturists, like they're just under intense pressure to just see as many people as they can in a day and focus on one little piece of the puzzle. And intuitively, I think professionals want the time and space to see how they can help people really heal from the root cause. But our system is not set up like that. So what happens is then a clinician will join our health coaching program. They'll gather these skills and they're afraid that they won't have the capacity to actually do this in the real world, because they're like, wait, I know what's going to happen to me if I go to nursing school, I get a nursing license, I go get a job in a hospital. I know it's going to be a lot of pressure. I know it's going to be exhausting, but I also know I'm going to get a job. I'm going to be able to work X number of shifts. I'm going to make a certain amount of money, more or less. And there's a safety in that. But over time, people just get exhausted and really can't keep up that pace. So one of the things that I did deliberately, because this has been a fear of people making this transition to be able to both either purely coach or coach as a clinician, and both are great paths. Either one works well. I really still, in my private practice, coach as a clinician. So I can get to bring in all of my hats, which is actually wonderful. And either of those things can work and do work well with long-term business support. And that's what we offer here, because at the end of the day, and also because there are increasingly jobs in coaching, more and more and more, which is why we have committed to the rather complex and difficult, time-consuming process to make the Women's Health Coach certification NBHWC certified, because we want our graduates to have the opportunity to get those jobs, those more defined, for some people, safer feeling jobs. And we can currently offer them space over time, both in our program and when they graduate. There's lots of opportunity. I'm on live calls 3 times a week to help our clients and our students and graduates develop the exact kind of practice that they want. And one of the things that's really important about how we do that is there's not like a 6-step process to 100K or, whatever you see from business coaching, because everyone's vision, we do everything in the coaching model, and each clinician and coach's vision is different. And this way we have the opportunity and we have the experience. I've been doing this since 2006 and officially since 2009. We have the experience to have seen hundreds of successful, totally unique kinds of businesses. And I think that gives us the insight to help people figure out what the exact right kind of business and or practice or job or career fits them. And I think that really helps to ease that fear of, how can I make this work? Well, we've seen it hundreds, if not thousands of times at this point.
Yeah, and I think it's important, like you said, to fit. That's so coaching, right? To fit them. So really, to fit their life, to fit their bandwidth, to fit what lights them up, how they want their business to look like, or potentially how to incorporate all of these skills into a clinician role or a different health coaching role. We've seen so many students be able to take these skills and incorporate it in so many different avenues. We've had them incorporated into programs at the VA. We have two students right now, actually, and a master coach who is utilizing these coaching skills to help the VA to create kind of a whole system, a whole body approach to women's health at those centers. We've seen social workers incorporate those skills into their current practice, or to start a whole new, practice where they're using these skills on their own. Students get jobs employed as health coaches through doctors' offices, or for example, for me, even having that credential before I started this role actually opened up so many doors for me as a nurse practitioner. There's more and more doctors' office, hospitals looking for people who are certified coaches, health coaches, to join their team. And I think it's also really important to mention not just on the live coaching calls, like all your years of training and skills of running a successful practice, starting practices, helping students grow their practices, but they also get this on a one-on-one basis as well. In particularly the program with their master coaches, they have the ability to discuss their vision, their dreams, what they're looking for, bring it to the live calls, and can discuss with their coach on their one-on-one calls what that looks like, how to bring it together, what the next best steps are, which you don't see. And I don't know if any other programs.
No, and we have the retreats also where you'll get to meet more than just your master coach. You get to meet multiple master coaches, and all of our master coaches are working as practicing coaches, and some are hybrid practicing coaches, clinicians. And I think what you said about, there are tons of open roles in healthcare right now, right? But this will set you apart if having a career, a long-term, non kind of exhausting career in healthcare, a non-burnout career in healthcare. When you come to this program, even if you didn't change your job, like you literally went right back to the same job in a hospital system, in a conventional hospital system, or in a conventional medical office, you will now approach each and every patient differently. And the number one thing that our students say to me about that is they go home not exhausted. They go home with energy. They can then live more of their own lives without needing like a day to recover from their shift, to give some more of their energy to their families, to their friends, to themselves. And I think one of the most important commodities, that we have now is our own energy, and deciding, as you were saying before, what our vision is for that energy. So the opportunities have just expanded since we started this training program so long ago, because coaching is more and more and more a desired skill set within healthcare. And I think that's the most important thing. People think, before they really understand what coaching is, that anyone can just be a coach. And while anyone can call themselves a coach, very few people, and so it will differentiate yourself in the marketplace, actually do have a practiced skill set of coaching and the NBHWC credential, which really will separate you from the pack.
Yeah, I think it's important. I love how you said about, even if you take this back to clinician, like as a clinician, you take this back. your energy, and to be, everything that you said there was number one on point, and just so beautiful, because I think it's really important to take like that. You take the coaching skills. It's coming up personally for me. It's just that once I learned these skills, it was the first time in my entire clinician life that I was able to stand up for myself, like actually to take my energy back, to take my power back, and to feel comfortable to say no, because staying late at work or just really didn't align with my values, with my vision, really what was important to me in life. And I was never able to pull that all together until I learned how to be a coach. And not to fault clinician, not at all to fault training or clinicians or any of that, but I also think they just don't teach us how to collaborate with our clients. So once you finally can let that pressure of being responsible for, the plan and the treatments and the, like every single step of their healing journey, and really working on helping that client to decide what is best for them, is just so freeing in so many ways.
Well, and I think that's where we have to take a little bit of a step back and remember how the conventional medical system was developed. It was developed to be a kind of power differential, a patriarchal model where the person with the degree, the license, the information kind of benevolently gives it to, and has all this like knowledge, gives it to the patient. And that is actually not modern evidence-based medicine, where we take into account the patient or client's own experience, their response to treatments, their internal wisdom, their knowledge. Look, we now have extensive access to knowledge simply as individuals to learn about our own conditions that our clinicians don't have as much time to read about because they're responsible for lots of different conditions. So I think that while the model was developed in one way, times have changed dramatically, but the model has not adjusted. And so, of course, our clinicians aren't really learning this in their training programs. And so they're trying to fit a round peg in a square hole and are really exhausted because the model doesn't align with what's really needed and what's really happening. And so both clinicians and patients are getting frustrated. And this happens across the board. And this is why the vast majority of our health professional, wellness professional students actually come initially, many seeking their own healing, because working in a healthcare career can be damaging to your health. It just can. And hospitals know this, right? Because there's all these like wellness programs and mindfulness lunches and stuff like that. But that doesn't really get to the root problem. It's like a little tiny bit of like lipstick on a pig, if you will. And so when students come to us as health professionals themselves, we also see them as humans who are often undergoing their own healing journeys. And what I feel like would be amazing in the transformation of healthcare, and what I think this company is truly about, is leading, innovating transitions and healing of the healthcare system and environment. So when people join our community and enroll in our school, our support for them initially is, let's help you learn how to optimize your own health. And as you were saying, create your own vision, create your own boundaries, create your own kind of wellness, self-care strategies. So people come to us with their own health issues, but they also sometimes come just needing to know that they're allowed to advocate for their own health. And I've been in graduate school for healthcare for a total of 7 years plus undergrad. Not one person ever said to me, like, the most important thing for you to be a great healer is that you have boundaried sense of your own need for your own health, so that you have the capacity to safely hold space for other people to heal. Never heard that once.
No, never. In any of the years of education. And I think that's a good transition to speak to what type of transformations per se could a student coming to Integrative Women's Health Institute, coming to the coaching program, what kind of transformations can they expect, or have we seen, whether it's, physical, like you said, taking on their own health journey, physical, financial, emotional, like what transformations could they expect, or we've seen with students as they attend this program?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm having like stories flooding my mind.
So many. Yeah.
I think, what I first see is this. I often see people come into it like just curious, feeling like, I don't know if I really even need this. Like, I'm already the person who's coaching all of my friends and family, and, this comes naturally to me. But I think the first transformation is, there's actually a structure and there's actually specific skills to practice and learn and use in a particular order, depending on what our clients are needing. So there's a real structure around the communication skill set of health coaching. And that gives people so much kind of nervous system relaxation and peace. Because again, it shifts the kind of locus of control from the person who's been trying to like fix everybody unsuccessfully. How many times is like, and people who come to us, right, they are sort of the natural healer, right? Like everyone in their family is like, hey, what do I do? And they're like, oh, and they go research it and they come up with this whole plan. All you have to do is this, this, and this. And the person's like, yeah, no, okay, fine, thanks. And they don't really do it. And then the person gets crazy frustrated.
Yeah. Or for a week, right? 2 weeks and come back and yeah.
Yeah. Or they're like, oh yeah, I tried that. I went gluten-free. Like you told me. Yeah, that didn't work. It's like, what? And so the person has invested all this energy. That's a rare, valuable commodity in people who are just sort of naturally asking for their help, but don't really want it a lot of times. So it's a new experience to have the skill set of coaching practiced and understanding when to use it and when not to use it, when it's likely to be beneficial, when there are red flags for actually using it and making someone worse, what safety nets we have to have in place, both for the client and for you on all levels, your health, your liability, all of that. Because sometimes it's like, I'm just going to go out there and coach. And there's no thought around what some of the risks are for that. And we give you the structure to make sure that both you and your clients are safe. So that's a really important transformation. Second, I think we encourage our students to kind of turn the mirror on themselves and kind of walk through this program as if they are their first client. So intuitively, what is their vision, both for health, both for work, both for just life in general, relationships? Help them start thinking about their own lives in that new way is, I think, really exciting for people. It's like no one ever, I was having a conversation with my husband the other day and he's like, where was my high school guidance counselor? I feel like I didn't get all these choices. Like, right?
Yeah, you really don't. I mean, we're not, I mean, other than I'd say now, maybe we get sometimes for kids as far as foods and this and that, but as in middle school and high school, you don't. No one comes to you really, and it's like, go take this test, go take this, go see but no one's like, what do you really want? Like, let's figure out what that is, what that looks like. But yeah, there's no one helping with that. It's funny.
Right. Where's my guidance counselor? And that can change, right? So what you may have wanted when you were 17 or you thought you wanted, and maybe you did want for like a decade or 2 decades, you don't want now. And there's no guidance counselor that shows up when you're 28 or 35 or 48 or 60. or 60. Like if we are going to be healthy enough to be living to 100, which is really what our kind of what we teach you in terms of education around here, like we're teaching you the skill set to how to be healthy all the way, your entire lifespan, and with the general thought that for most people, if you're doing these day in and day out, health behavior skills, health behavior, execution, healthy until 100 is not a crazy thought. This is just how we think, like healthy until 100. And so if you're healthy until 100, what's going to happen? Might have 5 or 6 different careers. You might, you're going through periods of fertility and pregnancy and postpartum and parenting and, choosing not to have children, choosing to be partnered, choosing not to be partnered, choosing to change careers. And I think our school and the community we've built over these many, many years is a super safe space for us to support exactly what that looks like for you. And a lot of people come in confused. They don't know what that is because we don't have that guidance counselor who probably didn't do a great job when you were a junior and then in high school, and it isn't around anywhere now. And so when now you're coming here, and this is the space where we give you to turn that mirror of coaching and health behavior coaching on yourself, because, we're talking about here September as the new January.
Yes.
Anytime there's a January in your life, whether it's you're an empty nester now, or you have 2 kids who have just gone into elementary school, or you've made a decision to not be partnered and that you want to buy your first house by yourself, like whatever your own new January is, here is a safe space to start living those health behavior skills. And when you get confused, because here's the thing, I could give everybody like an Oprah magazine checklist of like what to do to be healthy at a foundational level, but it does get kind of complicated either during transitional phases of our lives, say postpartum or perimenopause, menopause, even puberty, or if someone has overlain with that, which is extremely common now in an environment of pretty heavy environmental toxins, autoimmune disease or chronic pain, chronic fatigue, headaches. I think it's very rare now for someone to have absolutely no health issues going on at all.
Yeah, I agree.
It's just rare because we live in an environment that's stressful on all levels, and the systems are starting to break down.
Yeah, I would say, and add a layer to that, particularly for females, for women. I mean, it's supported that we have more commonly have autoimmune disorders, definitely more hormonal imbalances. So I think you add on top of that, you're a woman. A lot of the students we have are clinicians or providers, and taking care of families, taking care of other clients. So add to that, yeah, absolutely.
So I think what you get when you come in here, when you turn that mirror on yourself in our community, whether you're a clinician or this is a complete career change for you, which is also very common in our community because of your own health issue, right? A lot of times people are motivated by, wow, I was an attorney or something, and now I went through this complex chronic illness and I felt so lost in the woods. Here we are to support that and to help people navigate when it gets complicated. And so that's why I've always felt it's important to have 3 pillars of education within the Women's Health Coach certification. One is that skill set of coaching, including all the safety nets that we need. The second is functional nutrition, root cause health behavior changes that people can implement day in and day out. And it's more and more an individual's responsibility, and it's more and more that individuals are resourced to take care of their own health, right? We have a lot of digital education. We have online access, direct to consumer access for lab testing. We have direct to consumer access for, all kinds of nutrient support, herbal medicine support, tools for, home exercise. We can be resourced in our own homes with a lot of things that we used to have to go seek from external sources. So knowing what those are and when to use them, we teach all of that. And then, of course, the business and career education, which we have both deep dive education and that coaching support to help you align that with your goals. So that's really the transformation that I see. I see people coming in feeling kind of confused and overwhelmed because sometimes they are also dealing with their own health challenges on multiple levels, and they don't know how to fit their work life into that or their home life. And so we can help you absolutely do that using all three of those pillars. And I've seen things like people who were mental health clinicians, psychotherapists, now integrate a whole practice of coaching with that. We see this all the time for pelvic physical therapists and occupational therapists. They have both their pelvic health practice and they have health coaching group programs or individual programs in certain niche markets. We have people who were publishers or HR directors who are now working for health coaching companies. We've had people work for large hospital systems like Mayo Clinic, the VA hospital system, integrative cancer hospitals, in functional medicine physician offices, especially gynecologists. We see that a lot. So the transformations are really all over the board, but they're all really fun.
Fun. Yeah. I think in those pillars that you were talking about, the women's health coach, the coaching skills, the functional nutrition part of it, and the business model part of it as well. I think there's a couple underlying things, and you've mentioned it. One is community. That for so many of our students, for the women in this program, it's that sense of community, like you said, that safe space, that sense of community, where they, for the very first time, feel it's okay to ask questions about yourself and to trust your intuition, and to have that guidance and the support from not just you on the live calls or the master coach, from other students. That community aspect is just something that is very needed, that they're looking for. But when they enter the program, I don't think they're clear on the amount of support and community that they're going to have in the program.
Yeah, I think one of my proudest things about this program is that people have come into, say, the Women's Health Coach Certification Program, like literally in 2009, 2012. And it's now more than a decade later, and they're still in our community.
Community. Yep.
They're still posting on our Facebook groups. They're still coming to our live community calls. They're still participating in our continuing education because we always stay on the innovative cutting edge. And what's so cool about that is exactly what you said. Myself and our faculty are very accomplished and have lots of interesting experiences and support to share. But how exciting that you also get access to literally several thousand people who have been through this program, who live in more than 60 countries, who are dealing with different kinds of medical systems than we have in the United States. We're all across Europe, we're in Australia, we're in Canada, Mexico, South America, and beyond. And I think what's so exciting about that is, things like, for example, in the United Kingdom right now, there's a big push regarding talking about menopause in the workplace. And one of our graduates is really on the leading edge of that. I get notes all the time from people saying like, oh my gosh, I was approached by my state or even federal, national